One, wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Come here, baby. Look at here, you getting distracted again. Hello, somebody, man. Come on now. You got dreams to chase. You got goals to accomplish. You got some stuff that you got to do. You got some shadow work to be working, baby. I understand that, baby, honey. We got things to do, not no people to impress. Stay focused. That's right. Yeah. We don't care what they thinking, what they feeling, what they talking about. It ain't about impressing them. It ain't about showing out for them. This right here, this personal. Your comeback personal. Your healing personal. Your growth is personal. You got to stay focused. You cannot afford to get distracted. Come on now. Get on back in alignment, baby.
I'm going to say this loud enough for the people in the back. You know when your life's going to change? When you stop running back to the things that God is trying to save you from. When you stop pressing rewind on the things that need to be deleted from your life. When you stop hanging on to the things that you know you need to let go of. Let me tell you this, moving on isn't always about knowing where you're going. It's about knowing where you're no longer staying and what you refuse to go back to. Straight up.
Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
to put this back. Sorry, guys. Good morning. It's early. It's early. What in the world is Bullhorn Betty doing up this early? Well, many of you guys know I'm up all the time. Like, I'm up this time of the morning. So why am I going live this time in the morning? Well, it's because I did all my research yesterday. So this morning, I didn't really have to get up and put things together. I already had an idea because we were supposed to go live. Shh. We were supposed to go live yesterday afternoon. I chose not to. Many of you know out there on the land of YouTube, Bullhorn Betty's trying to give up the vape, right? I'm trying to give up the vape. So I got this patch on my butt, right? This patch on my butt. It's an okay patch. It's an okay patch. It's not irritating the skin. It's not making me scratch my rear end. It's good. But the problem is, I'm still having some withdrawal symptoms. So it hasn't been the most pleasurable experience, but in all fairness, I didn't expect it to be, right? We all that smoke out there and decide to quit, we did it to ourselves, right? The years and years of smoking, it was a lot easier 30 years ago to quit than it is today, right? So, but I'm in the process. I think I'm handling it like a champ. But you know what? I have those sticky fingers. Like right now, I'm literally warring at this moment, warring with a friend through text message, literally warring. Our friendship probably is over, and I'm okay with it. I really am. I'm absolutely okay with it. God puts people in your life for purposes. Some of us get, like with my BFF, my best friend, some of us get literally years of a beautiful friendship. Some of us only get a few years before we realize there's a snake in the fucking ground. Excuse my language. All my pastors that are in here. I think it's a little too early even for the pastors to be up. Let's hope. But either way, I think I'm dealing with all of this like a pure champ. But the great news is we're not stopping working from behind the scenes. Even if you don't see me on YouTube, my butt is working. Why? Because I can't stop working. It's a disease. It's an illness. We are workaholics. So good morning, TLC. And this is what I like about coming on a little earlier than a normal time. We're probably going to get into all this stuff here in a little bit, and then I'm going to have to redo it for the regular time that I'm usually on. But in all fairness, I get to finally see some of the people in my chat that I haven't seen in a long time, right? We have TLC is me here. We got Debbie says what? Evie is in the house, just an old lady. Kim Hunter, good morning. Joan Penton, Melly Joe, nice to see you. Arlene Wiley, Misty, Jennifer Dublin is in the house. I don't know if you guys have seen. I've been kind of. I didn't realize I was not subscribed to Dumplin's site. I don't know what it is. I didn't know she had a channel until probably, I want to say, oh, Lord have mercy, maybe a month ago, I think is when I learned that you had your own channel. And so I thought I was subscribed to it. Well, apparently I wasn't. So I was popping through the other day, through all the lives, and I saw her up and I'm like, oh, it's Dumplin. So I jumped over there. Really nice. It was nice. Welcome over there. It was nice to see her doing her thing. I love her intro. It puts my intro to shame. So I'm gonna have to work on the intro for Bullhorn Betty. I'm just joking. I love my intro, but I love her intro. Her intro is very unique, very clever, very well done. So anyways, just a shout out to Dumplin. You're the best. You rock. Good morning. I think I said good morning to you, Jennifer. You're up awfully early, by the way, but we usually are, right? Sweetie Pie. I think I already said Mustang Sally. Nice to see you, honey. And who else do we have? Tex Galbraith. Good morning. I don't know if I said that right. Tech Galbraith. So I'm assuming that you were originally from Britain and possibly a gal in Texas. I could be wrong. What was that? It's not charades. What is that? Remember that that game? Remember we were always, it's the commercial and it's like, I can't remember, but they're trying to say something and one was like Joe King. Remember that a commercial? That feels like it, but it's not charades. It's called something else. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. Good morning, love. Sep says, good morning. Good morning, my beautiful friend from across the pond. I hope you're doing so well this morning. I hope you're doing so well. Miss Potty Mouth. What else do we have? Hey, Loya. BH, nice to see you. Hot damn, Jennifer BH. Well, it's nice to see everybody. So, anyways, just kind of getting on with some of the stuff that we are talking about. Many of you know, and so the people that don't know, Bryan Kohberger, obviously, many people. I don't think that the 118 people that are watching this channel right now has no clue who Bryan Kohberger is, but there may be somebody out there that's watching the replay that wants some information on who Bryan Kohberger is and why is he in jail. So Bryan Kohberger is accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in their off-campus housing while they slept in the early morning hours of November 13th. The 4 victims is Kaylee Gonzalez, Maddie Mogan, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Kaylee Gonzalez's family has kind of taken point on leading the charge in the vindication, well, I guess not vindication, in the justice of their daughter, their 2 daughters, because Maddie was like a daughter to them. They had been best friends. Kaylee and Maddie have been best friends since the 6th grade. You're talking about for kids this age, literally a lifetime of friendship and loyalty and devotion to one another. And it's a beautiful story. Their friendship is, hearing about it, being able to sit down with the Gonzalez and speak to them about it was an amazing experience that I will never forget. They've been hailed kind of America's family. And I couldn't agree with that statement anymore. But also coming back to this, from the onset, the Bullhorn Betty channel has stated from the beginning that we believe that the person that committed this crime is nobody that we're looking at the time, and we ended up being correct. I even stated and went as bold as to say that this person is somebody, one, we're not even looking at, nor have we even heard that person's name brought up. I knew that early on. It was a gut feeling of mine that ended up panning out. A lot of the gut feelings that I had related to this case, related to the information, it always starts factually. Like, you have to have some level of facts of the case to build your theory, your opinion, your hypothesis. You need to have, it can't be conjecture. You've got to have some solid factual foundation for that, which we had. Very limited, but we did have it. And so, oh, thank you, BH. Not going to bed till Betty gets 100 likes. We have 133 people in here. Maybe we'll get 100 likes before you got to go to bed. So as Bryan Kohberger's name started, we started realizing who he was. The good news is when he was when his name was brought up, Olivia and I were actually in Moscow, Idaho, at the moment that this all happened. Like, we're literally in front of 1122 King Road. Our phones are blowing up at this moment. We're just there to watch the cleaning crew come in and set up, and that was going to be our show, is watching what the cleaning crew was doing. The cleaning crew was coming out that day. So then the cleaning crew's there setting up. We're learning that this Bryan Kohberger's name. We're like, who the heck is Bryan Kohberger? So we're sitting there watching this whole event going on at 1122 King Road, where the cleaning crew's coming in, like, they're getting tents up and stuff around the door so people can't see what they're dragging in and what they're dragging out. And then we're hearing this name. We're kind of distracted and trying to hear this name. We turn around, and the cars are all leaving. The cleaning crew is leaving, and we're like, what in the world is going on? Like, we're finding out about this Bryan Kohberger. The house is supposed to be being cleaned out. Now we don't know who this Bryan Kohberger is. The cleaning crew is leaving. What in the world is going on here in Moscow, Idaho? Then we start doing our research. Our people, we're live. Olivia and I are both live. People are just, beating us with some information, telling us to get over to the Steptoe Apartments. That's where he's at. So we're running. We're getting in the car, we're loading our stuff up, we're going in there. I got this one a-hole that's a photographer out there that wants to say, look, if I got to get my shot and you're in the way, I'm going to move you. Well, let me tell you something, buddy. You put a hand on me or you put a hand on my equipment, you're going to be in jail. So you can work around me. But if you think you're going to move me, you got the wrong chick. That was about to the extent of that conversation with this man. And let me tell you, he made sure he stayed out of the way of Bullhorn Betty the entire time we were there, and especially at the Steptoe Apartments. But that's how I roll when people think they're going to manhandle me. So I don't think he was expecting that. He was just thinking we're some YouTubers out there, no names, and he had no idea that we have more following than even he does. So sorry, Charlie. That's not the way you start a good working relationship with me. But after developing that, we start learning, we start hearing about the Brett Payne affidavit, right? We start reading through this Brett Payne affidavit. And there's a lot of stuff that we kind of glossed over when we first got the Brett Payne affidavit. And what do I mean glossed over? Well, because I think we were all in such shock that Dylan Mortensen had seen the assailant that we got distracted on other things that were inside that Brett Payne affidavit. But that's okay, because even when we don't read or we gloss over or we don't think a point is important, we have mainstream media to make sure they pick everything apart, because they are no different than social media, right? They've got to get their clicks and views as well and make their money through their advertisement, right? I mean, they do. So they take every little thing and make an article about it. They have a great craft of doing that. And so it is no surprise to us to hear that, back on January 5th, that there was a New York Post article, right? Like there's a New York Post. What is it about? It's about something that's insignificant. Or is it? Because the crazy part about this is we do know that Bryan Kohberger at some point had applied for this intern position at the Pullman Police Department. Remember that? The Pullman Police Department? But nobody really had a whole lot of information on the Pullman Police Department, the internship, the application process, what happened. All they knew is that that he applied for this and that there was an affidavit that stated so. And actually, as a matter of fact, that particular affidavit and what stated is right here. So in the Brett Payne affidavit the first document that the public, was finally able to review, basically states, based on information provided to Wazoo website, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University. Pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for the Pullman Police Department, we learned that Bryan Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degree in psychology and cloud-based forensics. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in his essay that he had an interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies. Rural. I mean, think about it. Rural. Very specific. Rural. So he's looking for law enforcement that are out in the boonies, not something in the city, something in the boonies. And now that we know who Bryan Kohberger is, it's a little scary to think that he wants to be part of rural law enforcement. So his interest is in rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. Kohberger also posted a Reddit survey, which can be found in an open source internet search. The survey asked for participants to provide information to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision making when committing a crime. You guys remember all this, right? So when we go back to the New York Post, and I kind of reviewed most of this stuff myself, and they kind of left it there. It seems like once they knew that he tried to intern for the Washington State Police Department, they just kind of let that portion of the conversation go. They never looked really too much further into this. Well, they may have, because I looked into this, and at first I was provided with a wall. So they basically said, let me go to my email here, and I'll read what they said to me. Let me go to Pullman. Request. This is the 15th, the city of Pullman. And they did drop some docs. I just did not see them at first. But they basically wrote me back and said that due to the fact that this is this is an application process, that I'm not really entitled. Good morning, Just Samantha. That I'm basically not entitled to any information related to this, because they keep all their employment records as confidential, and they're not, they're not up for public consumption or public disclosure. And so my response to them was, to whom it may concern, thank you so much for your response. However, there are some documents related to this request that I'm entitled to, that to fall under public disclosure, that your office is denying access to, because I'm asking for the applicant and application and other things related to the interview process. In my opinion, there are certain communications within your office that are still responsive to this request, that are up for public consumption, and would like you to review the documents individually to confirm any and all documents in your possession, custody, and control related to Bryan Kohberger and or his volunteer position. The public is entitled to information related to this request. Further, I'm requesting all documents in paper or digital format related to anything and any contact. So I'm basically telling them that I would like, this information from them. And, I also tell them, thank you for your consideration. And, basically, I really do thank them for the professionalism and things of that nature. But it took me some working to get these documents. It wasn't like I just made a request and they turned all these documents over. No, I made a request and had to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until they finally started sending me some documents. I did finally get some documents. Many of you know I was on my live yesterday. I was going to show you guys a few things. And then but then I found that there was even more documents that they submitted under this request. So I had an opportunity to review a lot of the documents. But I wanted to get through this. So it's accused quadruple killer Bryan Kohberger applies for an internship with the local Washington State Police Department in the weeks before the University of Idaho killings, according to the police report. Kohberger, a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, wanted to intern with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Would you know that all of this stuff was transpiring before he even graduated DeSales University? That is correct. He was applying for this position and interviewed this position back in April 2022, long before. So again, if we're taking into consideration that Bryan pre-planned him going out to Washington State University to carry out this act, now we can see exactly when this application process started. That was my alarm telling me 6 o'clock is here, because what do we do at 6:30? Typically at 6:30, we're going live. But I had a wild hair at my butt and decided to go live early. Because it's Saturday, right? It's Saturday. And I've got things to do today. Just like every one of you. So if you guys are joining on the replay crew, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So if we look at the timeline of, we know that he didn't graduate DeSales University until May 2022. And now we have proof that let me show the proof. Got to show the receipts, right? Got to show the receipts. Hold on, let me put this over here. Oh, it's not going to let me. Oh, crap. Let me do a couple things here. Okay. We're going to have to share. I'm going to have to get off this because but I don't really have a whole lot that's going to be audio on this particular program. So let me just go ahead and stop the screen share and share all. That'll probably be the easiest. Share the entire screen. And if for any reason, we need to have audio, I'll just set it up for audio. So there you go. So this is April. This is April 2022, right? So this is the Pullman, Washington emails here that are talking about, this fellowship and wanting some interview questions. So we've got the interview questions and how they develop those interview questions for these folks. What I can tell you is it appears that there were 12 applicants for this program, 12 applicants. Some of the internal emails back and forth between the chief and some of his employees under him that were helping with this, you could see that they were really excited that they were going to get these, at least 4 or 5 of these pristine, undergraduates of the criminology department to help the police department out. You could hear as you're reading through all these emails. I'm not bringing them up here because I've got like literally about 30 different documents here. So I'm just pulling the ones that I thought would benefit our audience. Has a psychotic break of some kind. His mom, anti-death penalty. He really is unwell. They may have convinced him to use mental health to save his life. I don't know. I'm waiting to hear about the alibi. The state has now requested, and I'm sure because I've watched YouTube and it's all over YouTube and Twitter right now about how the state is now requesting his alibi, where he was at the time of these killings. So I'm interested to hear what he says his alibi is, but the request has been made by the state to the defense. But this was all started about April 2022, a month, 45 days, 60 days, prior to them meeting with these applicants. So they're going through here and they're passing this email around saying, hey, do you have any questions that might help us, for the applicant process? And Gary, and it says, Gary, thank you for asking. These are my go-to questions for the applicant. 1, how would you describe your time management skills and the ability to balance multiple responsibility? A, could you explain your process for prioritizing projects? What would a successful first year in this position look like for you? What would success look like at the end of your 3rd year? Pullman Police Department is building the foundations for evidence-based policing. Can you describe what evidence-based policing means to you and excluding information on arrests? What types of data do you believe are important for agencies to be regularly collecting to examine? Examining. So those were the questions that they had. And here is the original email related to this research assistant project. And it says, Gary and Jake, yesterday was the closing day for applications. I have attached a zip file with all the applications. And it says redacted, Bryan, redacted, and redacted, as you have indicated an interest in meeting with the applicants. What would be best for you all? With 4 applicants, it should be relatively low lifting on resourcing. A helpful guide in reviewing the application is the summary and duty. Each of the applicants have been evaluated as meeting and or exceeding on the required qualifications. All students will be starting their PhD in the fall semester. If I can be of any assistance in making the selection, please do not hesitate to reach out. doctoral level graduate research assistantship for public safety. Background. Research shows that suburban and rural criminal justice agencies are under-researched, staffed, and resourced. These agencies have considerable data that is underused because of issues in staffing, expertise, and time. In response, the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology, working with local public safety agencies, created 2 graduate research assistantships with the city of Pullman and the city of Pasco. The purpose of these positions is to support each agency through data management and analysis, and to position them for success when they're seeking external funding. Position summary. The graduate research assistants will work independently under the supervision of the Complex Social Interactions Laboratory Director. Each GRA, which is Graduate Research Assistant, will coordinate activities with their respective police department, either Pullman or Pasco, and other stakeholders, including database design, management, and analysis for agency data, development of protocols for new data collection process, report writing, identify relevant funding opportunities, grant writing, and providing supervision and guidance to undergraduate research assistants working in the Complex Social Interactions Lab. For each graduate research assistant will co-manage the CSI Lab. The CSI Lab, folks. Right there. Right there. CSI Lab. Will co-manage the CSI Lab. What is the CSI Lab that we know it? Crime scene investigation. That is a scary thought. That is a scary thought. Let's be honest. I'm dozing. You're always dozing. We don't care. No, I'm just joking, Jennifer. You should go get yourself a cup of coffee. Butterfly Den. YouTube lately, I swear, every time I get an ad, the live freezes up. I'm sorry. I did put the ads on. I'm not pushing a button. They now have a thing where you can put ads in. And I do that especially when we have exclusive information. So this is kind of exclusive. This has not been proffered by any news outlet. So we're proffering it on the Bullhorn Betty channel because that portion of the information, and I'm sorry, but it's scary to think that he would be co-managing the CSI laboratory. That's scary to me. That's scary to me. But you know what? It does show you that the application process works for these law enforcement agencies. And the reason why I say that is because he wasn't hired. Oh, Crime Stories Obsessed. It's nice to see you, love. I am getting finally some stuff from Pullman, Washington. It took me literally pulling teeth to get this, but I did keep working at it and chiseling it away until they finally provided me some real documents related to his apprenticeship or internship or whatever anybody wants to call it. But doesn't that scare you? I mean, seriously, Crime Stories Obsessed. To think that he would have had access to a CSI laboratory had he been selected, that to me is terrifying. And I keep wondering, I truly believe he went out there to commit this act. I truly believe he had a plan in mind. I truly believe this was not going to be the only. I truly believe that when he went out there to commit this act, he knew he needed to get inside of a law enforcement agency that might be working his case. I think he pre-planned this. I think that's why he wanted to apply for this internship or apprenticeship at the Pullman Police Department. I believe this was all part of his original design. I really, really do. Duties of research assistants include organizing and analyzing data provided by the agency and exploring opportunities for automation, working collaboratively with the agency to build research agenda servicing the agency needs, recommending new revised data collection practices to improve data efficiencies for agency, producing research briefs, managing research projects and personnel, supervising undergraduate research assistants, communicating faculty student research findings to the agency. And the qualifications for this particular position is you must have a master's degree or above, accepted in the doctoral program in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology, data literacy, undergraduate or graduate course in methods and statistics at the introductory or higher level, independent worker, excellent writing and communication skills, and experience with project management. Important dates: April 29, 2022, selected applicants notified. August 2022, fellowship starts. So the fellowship was going to be starting on August 22nd, 2022, had he been involved in this particular matter. So I thought that was interesting. I'm going to go ahead and close that one down. And so here is them talking about that I have interviewed all 4 candidates. So we don't know who the 4 candidates are, right? What I can tell you is that I did receive all the applications are redacted. So it's just blank screens. And then they gave me the reason why they were redacted, like a list of an explanation in the law that gave them the right to redact these items. And it appears that they had, I don't know if it was several pages for 4 of the interns, or they had 12 applications for internship. But either way, it seems like there was 4 major players, one being a female, and it sounds like the female did get the position. It looked like they had 2 positions, one for Pullman and one for Pasco in this particular. So they were looking for 2 candidates. They had a total of 4 that they met with. And one of those 4 was actually Bryan Kohberger, as many of you guys know. Here's the appointment that they had to meet. Pullman graduate research assistant. They were meeting with people. This, I believe, is the one for Bryan Kohberger. He was meeting with the chief on April 12th, 2022 from 1 p.m. to 1:45. Keeps popping them on my other things, so I have to just keep dragging them over here. And here's some more questions. So Megan, she's asking, below are some questions for Dr. Macon suggests to interview with the fellowship. So she actually provided some requests as well. And here's what they do. When they do redactions, this is what I get for the redactions. It says redaction reasons by page. It says 2, the reason applications. Under RCW 42.56.2502, all applications for public employment other than vacancies in elected office, including names of applicants, resumes, and other related materials submitted with respect to application, are exempt from public inspection and copying. So that's why they're saying that they had to redact it. That portions of this email are discoverable and up for public consumption. However, they had to redact a portion that was not. We still have a lot more to go through here. And here is, I had that out of order. I try to put these on as much order as I can. And here is, do you want me to set up the online interviews to include you? If so, let's wait to set them up for Tuesday or Wednesday next week. And you can have an idea about what time of the day it could work for you. And it goes through the intern position and the redactions here. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there, because there's some stuff in here that's going to be pretty interesting. So here's the email that went out to Bryan Kohberger. I'm contacting you in response to your application for the doctoral level graduate research assistantship for the public safety at Washington State University, and your interest in working with Pullman Police Department. Dr. Macon from Wazoo shared your application documents with me and agreed that a chance for me to talk to you and agreed that a chance for me to talk with each applicant would be beneficial part of the selection process. I would like to schedule an approximate 45-minute online interview with you. Please let me know your availability next week, April 11th. If we can't find a date time that works out for both of us, we will try the following week. please let me know if you have any questions. So that is the information that Wazoo sent to Bryan Kohberger. And here is more of their information. And you can see that they redacted a lot of information in here. You see Bryan C. Kohberger is here Thursday after 2 p.m., Wednesday, Friday after 3:30 p.m., Tuesday, April 12th, 12 to 2. Bryan Kohberger basically says after 1 p.m. on Tuesday, anytime, and also available April 12th, 10 a.m. So there's his response to this application process. He's writing them, and we have other people. So we have 1 application, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 applicants. I'm contacting in response to your application for the doctoral graduate research assistantship. And then that was the email that we just read that actually went out to Bryan Kohberger and the other 3 applicants as well. And here's Bryan's response. Oh, let me go pull that back up. Here's Bryan's response related to. It won't let me get. Will not let me make it bigger. Yeah, I will. He says, I'm available. Look how he writes this. He says, I'm available after 1300 Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday of the week of April 11th to partake in the interview process. I am also available at any time that works best for you on Tuesday of next week. I look forward to hearing from you, Bryan. 1300 Pacific. Now, I don't know how many people use that kind of time when dealing with, but you know what? It is law enforcement. Yeah. Why did he use military time? And that's a good question, Allie. But I think there's a reason. Because if you notice, so does law enforcement. When you're dealing with law enforcement, they use military time on all of their reports. So maybe this was a reason. Maybe he wanted to let them know that he understood their lingo. I believe that he is very psychological and does this for certain effect. I've never heard him use 1300. I don't think anybody has heard him use 1300 Pacific time prior to this, but I do believe he's just trying to show them that he speaks their lingo. I think he's trying to give himself an advantage. He's overcompensates everything. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. And I think that that's what it is. But again, this is stuff that was talked about early on by a lot of, media out there. We have New York Post. We have all the mainstream media that talked about this whole entire process that he went through to try to get into Pullman Police Department. But to what extent? Like he was going to have, if he had this, he was going to have access to the CSI labs. The CSI labs. I'm like, this is so nerve-wracking for me. Nobody thought that Bryan would do this. So that was the email again that the Chief Gary Jenkins sent out to him, and he responded back and said, yes, I'm available these times and everything like that. So there's Bryan writing back, and he further states to the chief, Bryan, would Tuesday, April 12th at 10 p.m. work for you? And he writes back, Chief Jenkins, Tuesday, April 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific time works for me. You see how he's using 10 a.m. So I don't know. It's just weird to me that he would be using military time, but I think he just wanted them to know that he talked their lingo. Look at this. This is what the whole email, the whole thumbnail was all about today, right? Was Bryan's thank you email. Yes, there is a thank you email that he sent to the chief of police. right there. He sent it immediately after the conclusion of his interview. Bryan Kohberger to Chief Gary Jenkins to think that the chief of police of the Pullman, Washington Police Department was communicating with what we're learning to be at least the inspiration of a serial killer. That is spooky to me. I don't know. It just makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. So Bryan Kohberger, yes, did provide, and he even titled the subject, thank you, right there, from Bryan Kohberger to Gary Jenkins, the chief of police. And he states, Chief Jenkins, it was a great pleasure to meet with you today and to share my thoughts and excitement regarding the research assistantship for public safety. I look forward to hearing from you. Best regards, Bryan. Best regards, Bryan. There it is. Bryan's official thank you to Chief Gary Jenkins for meeting with him for the assistantship at Pullman, Washington. We have one more. We can't forget the chief of police respectfully responded. Chief of police respectfully responded by saying, Bryan, great to meet and talk with you as well, Gary. And I just realized I closed out all of the photos of this, all the PDFs. I got to find them for the next time we talk about them. Oh, crap. Oh, well, I know where they are. I know it's the thank you. That's creepy AF. Yes, Evie. No crap. But just think about it. He is identifying in all of this stuff, he's identifying that he wants to be part of rural policing. That is so creepy to me, knowing who Bryan Kohberger is, because what is our biggest problem with major crimes in rural areas? There's not enough in there to properly, in big cities we have, now I don't agree with this. I think it's absolutely taken away the United States privacy. We do not have privacy anymore in the United States. I'm sorry, we just don't. I know it's a hard pill for many to swallow, but we don't. They have they track our every move, every one of us. I mean, the reason why cell phones are so cheap when they used to not be, because they found out that there's a utilization that they can control people with, and it's by tracking them through their cell phones. They put trackers in our cars. There is hardly any consumer products that we can purchase for ourselves that don't track us. They have allowed third-party companies to track our every single move. Privacy is dead in our country. We have no privacy. But, what's the give and take? If you're not committing a crime, you shouldn't worry about your privacy. I don't commit crimes. And I worry about my privacy, period. Because I don't want somebody in the government having control over what information is told about me or allowed out about me. That's giving somebody I don't know an awful lot of control over my personal business, which I do not like doing, right? So I have a problem with it. However, these are the things that helped track Bryan Kohberger and helped us resolve this this crime very quickly, without a doubt. But those are the types of infrastructure items that rural areas do not have, right? That's the problem, say, with the Summer Wells case. Their internet, their services out there are the stuff that is used for them to track us by our phones and our cars and everything else. Those are lacking in rural areas. And I think Bryan Kohberger knew that. Was that his plan? Was to graduate, become this scholar at the school, and then go to a rural area so he kind of has unbeknownst victims that would be under wraps because of the lack of infrastructure, such as, Wi-Fi, county Wi-Fi, tracking type things. Privacy is important, but we can't stop the invasion. And no, you can't. But that's why I've always said, what's the point of having a social security card? Like, there's no point this day and age to have a social security card. It does it's, to me, it's not an identifying document anymore, because anybody has access to it and anybody can use it. That's what I have a problem with. Our social security cards are no longer protected. They're up for anybody's grab. That's why they have to put all these protocols for our banking in place, right? Don't you find it funny that every time somebody uses something, you get a notification? It's like, hey, did you use this card? It's being used in an area that you've never visited before, right? They had to put all those extra things in to protect you, because anybody can open a bank account with your social security number, your driver's license, and your date of birth. And guess what is readily available for every single person on the black web, on the dark web, right? What is it? Your name, social security number, and date of birth. Anybody can do anything. So, but what I think the key takeaway for this particular issue for me is the fact that he would have had access with this internship, this apprenticeship. He would have had access to the CSI laboratories. That is what is so scary to me. Access to those laboratories. So even the Independent, oops, did I drop my, I did. Hold on, let me change this. So even, the Independent, which I kind of like the Independent, I find that they're actually not too bad related to the information they get for being so far away. But there has been times where I've noticed that they've gotten several details incorrect, and not just in this case, but other cases that we have covered and everything. But other than that, they seem like they work tirelessly to try very, very hard not to be inaccurate. They try hard, and I think they get an amazing amount right for them being so far away. So they just go through here, and an affidavit unsealed Thursday details how Bryan, a student at Washington State University right across the state's border from UI campus, had applied for an internship the fall of 2022. Other than that, there was no media source that could identify how soon before he went to Pullman. We now know that this was being discussed at the beginning of April. We know that Bryan Kohberger now had his actual interview with the chief of Pullman Police Department on April 12th, 2022. This was a month before he even started making his way. It was about a month before Dana Smithers was killed, if you want to put it in perspective. I don't believe he's responsible for Dana Smithers, but I do believe he's responsible for other crime. I do. I just think we've got to find it. I find it very odd that with the trends and everything else, that he was in Hawaii, allegedly, doing searches on whether he was a suspect in a stabbing type of crime. That is concerning for me. Was Bryan in Hawaii? And if so, was there any deaths or any crimes in Hawaii that could be attributed to Bryan Kohberger? I am very interested in that because of the trend reports provided by Eve's Nerdy and Nerdy Addict. Those trends are concerning for me. But we finally got to hear Bryan Kohberger and how he was handling this entire interview process. I did find it odd that he said 1,300 hours. It seemed like he was really trying to, and that may be the reason why he lost this, because they are looking at people's personalities, their speech patterns, and let's face it, when you're a chief of police, you probably know how to read body language pretty stinking good. And even though that this was a video, I'm sure he was paying close attention to a body language, facial expressions, blinking patterns, speech patterns, to make heads or tails. It's not all about the prerequisites or the accolades the person has. It also is whether they can gel well with you, the people in your department. At this point, he was not in Wazoo, so um, even the professors wouldn't have had an idea who he is. We heard from Wazoo about his issues he had while being a TA at Wazoo, a teacher's assistant for his criminology class. We understand that he was, according to a lot of information that we have received, he was telling people that, or people were telling the public that he was having some major issues and how he was grading and treating the other students, and how he would unfairly treat female students as opposed to male students. But it was very clear after the murder, something transpired in Bryan Kohberger where he relaxed, where he wasn't so anal. He was giving people 100% on their tests or on their papers. He wasn't writing it up, where prior to the deaths, he wanted everybody to know exactly how he would have wrote it and what he was thinking and how he would have handled it. And something happened after November 13th where that just didn't seem that important to Bryan Kohberger. And I think it had a lot to do with he had already made up his mind that he was going to leave the area. I kind of foresaw it. And I even said, he was probably most likely going to go home, say he didn't want to take the long trip back, and change his school. If he was not caught for this, he was just going to quietly leave the area, go to a different school, and start looking for different victims. Because I don't believe somebody like Bryan Kohberger, once they go through with this and once they feel the high that they get from it, they will never stop. We already know he was addicted to drugs. This was going to be his new addiction. Believe that. Miss Margaret says, let me just go back. I know I've been talking a lot. Let me go back and see if I can read some other statements here. Let me go up. Just give me a few moments. Let me just peruse through here. Texas Galbrit. I remember now they do have death penalty in Idaho because all Bryan's hearing. Yes, they do. And they even enacted that firing squad, which many believe that they enacted that specifically for Bryan Kohberger. I did confirm that was untrue. That was not true. What is true is that the medication that they give you when they give you the needle when you're on death row and you're going in there, the medication that they're giving you is in short supply. So all that stuff that puts you to sleep and never allows you to wake up again, that all is in short supply. And so they have kept the firing squad as a second option should they not get the necessary juice. They have another way of another humane way. Apparently that's humane in the eyes of the United States of America. And it's how we did prior executions. We did hangings, and then we did firing squads, and then we went to the electric chair, and then we went from the electric chair to euthanization. And so they do have that firing squad as a second option should they not be able to get the medications in necessary to carry out their duties. They have a way to carry out their duties now. So it wasn't for Bryan Kohberger. This was something that was talked long before Bryan Kohberger ever was even known or this crime was ever committed. So I wanted to be very clear on that as well. Southern Granny Wolf, it's nice to see you in here. Just Samantha. I was wondering if he had some kind of split personality, lost control, couldn't fight the urges anymore. That is a mental type of question. Unfortunately for me, this has not been raised even by Kohberger's defense. So I would think that they would want anything if he had some type of mental issue, they would be making that front and center as a defense for him. But again, we're not too far into this. They really haven't answered the complaint yet. The state is asking for that alibi, the notice of alibi. So we're going to be looking and paying close attention to Bryan Kohberger's response related to that. Again, I was just bringing this up because, mainstream media kind of let this whole thing die related to his internship. And I think that is super important because it shows you to the gravity of what Bryan Kohberger wanted to do in order to carry out his crimes. And that's scary for me. That is that is scary. And I keep thinking, if he became a Washington State Police Department officer, what that would have done to unknowing victims. He would have been able to spy in plain sight. He would have been able to target in plain sight. He would have been able to use his badge and his authority in plain sight to do God knows what to whom. The thoughts and ideas are limitless to what could have happened had he become part of Washington State University Police Department or Washington State Police Department. You have to understand that, yes, and people are going to say, well, this was only an apprenticeship. A lot of these apprenticeships turn into full-time jobs for many of these people. So you're talking about a Kohberger that would have been submerged in our law enforcement identity. That is a scary place to be. Honestly, that is very scary. He had problem ever since he was younger. I wouldn't be surprised at all. On the Steve Avery case today, his lawyer said a new witness has come forward saying the Daisy guy was driving the RAV 4x4 and had Sunui with him, but it wasn't Avery. Had someone with him, but it wasn't Avery. I'm not familiar with that case, unfortunately. Good morning, Sonia. And I've got to find all those. Good morning, Real Me Too. I also believe that his defense is trying to push the trial date soon before it all comes out about PA. It's possible. I don't think he's responsible for the Dana Smithers. I think they've been very clear and vocal on that. I truly believe that there is something else that went on with Dana Smithers, and I think it's somebody much closer to her. If she was murdered, I think it was somebody much closer to her than Bryan Kohberger, based upon what I'm previewing and looking at. If she was dead, then if she was murdered. Now, they have not even come out and said there was a murder here. And the reason why I'm putting so much emphasis on that is because there's other underlying issues that many don't know, like Dana being a past addict, and her family, has always been concerned about whether she was going to relapse or not. Was this a relapse? Did she go out in that area she was only 200 yards away from her home. It's not like she was that far. We hear she lived with her mother. So would it be so much of a stretch for her to leave the home if she wanted to conduct herself or have that kind of, or do something like that? It's not. She was also with her, one of her children's fathers, an ex-boyfriend, a recent ex-boyfriend of hers. She was with that person that day. Could that be part of it? And could he have introduced maybe this whole relapse type of situation because they were once lovers? They were hanging out. I don't know what their appetite was when they were dating each other. So there are other issues going on in this case that this could be somebody else. And I believe, obviously, it comes down to it. It is somebody else other than Bryan Kohberger that is responsible for Dana Smithers. But I still, again, believe there's more to the story. I don't believe that Bryan Kohberger woke up one day and decided to unalive 4 people. I just don't believe it. Especially with the revelation that he purchased this knife back in the Poconos in Pennsylvania and carried it with him to Washington State University. That is a little concerning. And how long has he had the knife? The knife is gone. They've never found the knife, to the best of our knowledge. They may have very well have found it, but have left that, kept that out of the public eye. We don't know. We know that it wouldn't surprise me if they did do something like that. But, how many times has he used that knife since he purchased it? When did he purchase it? And where has he been since the time he purchased it? Has he left his community? Has he gone to a different state? Has he taken a vacation that we're not paying attention to? Is there something more here? There very well could be. Was there any kind of cross contamination of maybe somebody, an unidentified DNA that could have transferred from that knife to one of the victims if he used it previously? There's a lot of questions. There's definitely a lot of questions. It's like he tried so hard getting off drugs, going above and beyond, doing everything right and excel in life, to study hard and be the best. But due to being socially awkward, he exploded. That's a great perspective, just Samantha. And yeah, something that I can agree with. There is a grand jury going on right now about 2 missing women's remains being found in a closed neighborhood where his parents' house is. His parents were subpoenaed to testify. We're hearing that they were to testify for Dana Smithers. I haven't heard of a second missing woman yet. But you know what? In all fairness, it doesn't mean just because I didn't hear about it that it's not going on, because I've been looking at different aspects of this case other than this. I'm interested in who the second missing woman was. If you can email me to bullhornbetty@gmail.com, I would love to do some research on it to make sure that the information is true and correct. But I do believe the one missing woman was found. Her name was Dana Smithers. She was just found, I think, like a month or so ago. And she was finally identified as it being her. And it's such a sad story, being so close to her home and still taking a year to find her. It's just, I can't even imagine. It just breaks my heart hearing stories like that. It really does. Christy Photo, does Bryan know someone in the military? Writing military style and weapon was Good question, Christy. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe his dad was at one point. Maybe he had an uncle. Maybe there was this fascination. I don't know. Another piece of me feels like he overcompensated, and here's what I mean by did he overcompensate? Sorry, I hit the wrong one. Overcompensate. When I was going through all of the stuff I was going through back in my day, when I was just kind of out there, I was a wild child. I just really didn't care about anybody but myself. And I was on a lot of heavy narcotics. It was choices I chose to make for myself, not understanding why, but it was more or less to deal with all the stuff I had dealt with, in my life. I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to deal with it. I just didn't. And so I pushed it all down. And, with my family and my friends, they look down on you when you go through something like that, whether they mean to or not. Everybody kind of looks down on you when you go through that. And it doesn't matter the struggle. It doesn't matter what led you there. It doesn't matter how the hard work it is, to rise above. But you have to compensate. You have to go. You got to work 1,000 times harder than everybody else because of that, especially around people that know that you've done it. That you've been down this horrible road. It's a scar that it's hard to shake from your family. Your family still loves you. Well, you hope they do. For me, I lost my father through my battle, but you know what? I had my life. So life. I had to lose a family member to save my life. It is what it is. And I feel like he worked all this extra work he did. He went well beyond the call of duty because he had to work 1,000 times harder to prove to everybody he wasn't that same person, even though he still had the same demons, if that makes sense. He was playing the I'll fake it until I make it type of thing, I truly believe. So he had it seems like from I was reading an article, and it seems like it was from a teacher from his younger years, talking about how he was so infatuated with law enforcement and cops, and that you could just really tell that he was going the teacher even came out, I thought he was going to be a police officer or some kind of security officer or something to that effect. That's what one of his teachers had said about him early on in this investigation, back when we actually had some, information free flowing to us that has been completely cut off by an unconstitutional non-dissemination order, that I truly believe is unenforceable on its face just because it's unconstitutional. But I think that has a lot to do with it. Now, we do have photos of him in like a police academy in an army outfit. Remember where he's doing the push-up? I think we even have that. Hold on. I think I even have that photo. I don't know where it is on my thing, but I'm pretty sure I've got it in my let me go into it here. See if I can download it. I know I have it. I know I have it. At least I thought I had it. It's where he's doing a push-up. You guys remember that? Maybe I don't have it. I could have sworn I had it. But he's on the ground. He's like in a military outfit, and he's doing a push-up for his military class. We've seen it. I can't seem to find it. I may have deleted it off here. I'm not sure. But for whatever reason, I don't have that particular, which is weird. I thought I had that on here. I thought I used it before. But I guess I haven't. But it's the one where he's doing the push-up. It's like if I'm not mistaken, I even think it was a black and white photo of him. But I believe he's had his eye on this a while, but we don't know how long he's been fantasizing about this whole thing either. Dudley repeated the same story exactly as he told you, Bullhorn Betty, except he said he did meth a day after he was fired. It made him look bad. It's too bad he was set up. Well, Dudley did admit to us that he's had problems with substance abuse in the past. He has said that. He told us that with the interview prior to us taking that interview. I don't believe Dudley had anything to do with Summer Wells. I think he was a scapegoat. We need to look at the total photo, the total picture. And this is months and months before she ever went missing. Okay. Now we're leading up to the days before she went missing. She was on top of a roof. Social services were just there the day before she disappeared. It's well known that there is a possibility that that her dad or other people had or may have done something to her. Obviously, the state was coming to take those kids. I believe it was only a matter of time before the state was taking those kids from Don and Candace. I think that they were put on notice the day that they were there, whether they want to admit it or not. These parents never fought for any of their children. They lost 4 children, two each. Candace lost 2 of them. Don lost 2 of them long before the boys or Summer Wells. They decided to procreate again. They had 4 children. All 3 of the boys have been removed from their custody. Now, I want to preface this. For all those people that have been helping these monsters financially and otherwise, and I'm talking about the Don Wells and Candace Bly sympathizers out there, their boys begged the judge not to send them back to their parents. Don't ever say that you try to help children. Anybody that has supported Don Wells or Candace Bly, you are part of the problem. Their children, in their own voices, begged the judge not to send them back to their parents. If that doesn't tell you the cruel and unusual punishment the abuse and the neglect that these people, Don Wells and Candace Wells, subjected their children to, I don't know what could possibly convince you. Anybody. And you know what? If you guys have now, cut ties with those hate channels and realized that Bullhorn Betty was telling you guys the truth from the beginning while they were lying to you, and you have come over here and subscribed to this channel and now understand, God bless you for making the switch. For those other people that are here just watching, just to kind of find something to clip to complain about, but you were part of the problem. You supported these people financially. You allowed them to abuse their children. You allowed them to subject their children to even more abuse. You, my friend, are pieces of garbage. You supported monsters. And there's nothing showing you what a monster is than their only living children begging not to go back. Begging. Begging the state, begging the judge not to send them back. I just want to put that in perspective. I want to put that in perspective. I don't understand why kill near where you went to school. He could have driven anywhere else. He could have started with Hooker. Just Samantha, he may have. Because that's what BTK ended up going to. It was very vulnerable people that are willing to get into cars with strangers. People nobody looked for. It very well may be. I mean, let's think about it. We do have these trend reports from Hawaii looking for him as a suspect and whether he was a suspect in a stabbing. That to me is a scary search. And that happened in 2018, 2019. There were several searches looking for him. Several. I agree. I think something triggered him. He dropped his premeditated plan and went messy. He definitely would have started with hookers or homeless, in my opinion. And again, that very well may be. And think about it. I mean, it kind of, it's hard because I don't want to disparage a victim. Nothing. There's no reason for like Dana Smithers there's nothing that lady could have done that could have warranted her being murdered or killed. We don't know. They haven't said she was murdered yet. We don't know if she died from natural causes. We don't know what happened to her. It's a stretch at this point to make that she was murdered, but everybody's running with the story that she was, and that she was put there by whoever killed her. And that very well may be the case. I just haven't seen anything from law enforcement that states that she was murdered. Or that they're looking for a murder suspect. So I really don't, I don't know. He may, but if you're looking for, a lot lizard, somebody that does that kind of business, an escort or something like that. I don't know. I would think that Dana would have put herself in peculiar situations if she was on those types of, or had relapsed on those types of drugs. Your family knows where your money is, so you'd have to try to sneak around and try to find additional money some way. And if you've already been down that road, who knows? I don't know. I don't know if she ever did that. Again, it's just speculative in nature. I'm just trying to figure out any possibilities that could potentially have put her in that area 200 yards away from her home without her wallet, her car keys, or anything, so close to the home. But we also know if somebody that's close to you, they're putting you close to the home. They're not going to be driving around. They're not stupid like that doctor in Florida where he takes that guy all the way to Miami. These are things that don't happen. Typically, we don't know how messy he was. We know it was a gory scene. We don't know whether that crime scene was sloppy or not. We've heard the word sloppy, but I haven't heard it from law enforcement per se, or maybe I have and I forgot about it. But we're assuming the scene was sloppy because it was so gory. I mean, we have to understand you're talking about a fixed blade K-bar knife. It's going to make a gory scene. Just because it's gory doesn't make it sloppy. Let's think about this. there was very limited DNA evidence left behind from Bryan Kohberger. That does not sound like a sloppy, a sloppy crime. If it was sloppy, I would have anticipated an overwhelming amount of DNA evidence being left behind. So we have to identify, what do we believe to be messy, sloppy, or premeditated, or very well carried out. Messy does not necessarily mean it was a messy scene. We can agree with that. It was a very gory scene. It would have been messy and gory just by the nature of the type of killing it was. Attempted car break-ins, there's a lot, like that whole thing with that girl down the cabin, the King Road cabin, talking about her underwear being, but that could have been a prank as well. That could have been a college prank. It didn't sound like anything was really missing. It just sounded like a whole bunch of stuff was moved around and pillaged through, and it could have been a prank from another sorority, or maybe the guys. I really don't know what to think about that. There could be so much to be said about that particular event. BK's internal condition of his dark mind and his heart are most frightening. How someone can think of doing such heinous acts against another human being's life is something I will never understand. It's something I don't understand either. But you know what? I'm dealing with a friend right now that completely, utterly stabbed me in the back. Like, who does that? Right? Who would, and not only that, but just like has literally behind the scenes been just trying to literally, utterly destroy me. A friend, somebody that was a best friend. And I don't understand how anybody could do that to another person, let alone kill somebody. There's a lot of different things that are egregious to people that I will never understand, but there are dark people that stand right next to us that don't commit these heinous acts, and they still are just as sick and twisted in their freaking head than anybody else. They have 6 men with guns. They all fire at the same time. The firing squad. That is a little crazy. That is a little crazy. There are killers. This is not the first one. I'm not understanding why this shocks you. I guess the better question is, I'm surprised it doesn't shock you. I think this whole story is shocking to everybody. And if it's not shocking to anybody, maybe the damage that has been caused by all these people, this is the thing I have a problem with. We are so desensitized in this country. People in this country no longer value human life. They no longer have morals or respect to elders. That's shocking to me. And may not be shocking to you, but it's shocking to me, because where I grew up, you talk bad about somebody, you're disrespectful to somebody, you get a slap across your face. That's from the era that I grew up in. And you know what? We didn't have all this crime. We didn't have this lack of respect, and we surely had people that respected the sanctity of life. This day and age, the world is breeding monsters. The world is breeding monsters. And monsters come in every shape and size. They're just not murderers. Monsters wreak havoc in people's lives. Period. Dana Smithers with either shot or stab. They aren't being straightforward about it yet. I disagree. Here's why. Because if she was shot, they would have been able to, her autopsy would have showed murder shot. Her autopsy would have said murder stabbed. Her autopsy stated that it was that they can't determine. She's undetermined as to a cause of death. They do not have a cause of death for her. So saying that she was either shot or stabbed at this point, I believe, is conjecture. It's an opinion. It's a perspective that we can definitely look at. But I can tell you, I've read over everything and I have not seen anything where they have identified her even being murdered. And if she was shot or stabbed, that would be murder. They're saying that their testing has been inconclusive and they cannot determine whether or not how she died. So they haven't determined whether she was murdered. They haven't determined whether this was an accident, and they haven't determined whether this was done. This was a natural event that occurred. They haven't told us one way or another. The all that we know factually in the Dana Smithers case at this point, to the best of my knowledge, is that she was found and she's been identified as being her through DNA. That's as much information as I've been able to read and research, and the fact that she's 200 yards away from her home and all of her belongings were at her home. So how did she get over into that wooded area? It's a good question. There are many things. She could have been murdered and the murderer took her over there. She could have went over there willingly to meet somebody and to get something, and something occurred and they killed her there. She could have willingly went over there all by herself and had a medical event that caused her heart to stop. There's literally a plethora of things that could have happened to Dana Smithers that is not nefarious in nature. So far, everything I've seen has been a missing person investigation that has now turned over to a criminal investigation, but it hasn't been moved to a homicide investigation, even though they're going to be treating it as a homicide investigation because you have a woman that's dead from unknown causes. So they are treating it as a homicide investigation. It's just not classified as a homicide investigation because the autopsy did not come back to allow them to upgrade it to a homicide investigation. It is my understanding when they get to like the inconclusive and can't tell you, then they send that off to, I want to say, a pathologist, possibly. I know that they send it off to somebody a little more above them that deals with bones and other things like that. I think for whatever reason, I'm thinking of a pathologist that may end up incorporating the bone doctor. What is it, a neurologist or I don't know who does. I think it's a pathologist. I don't know. I wish I had our resident nurse here, which is Amy M. I haven't seen Amy M in a long time. But right now would be great to have her insight, right? Coffee is my curse word. It's nice to see you. He was in the ROTC program. So really, long before he ever got here, he was already having his eyes on and I just keep wondering, was this his plan? Has he been planning this since high school? Like, what has he done since high school? Like, this is scary. I just don't believe he just woke up one day and said, hey, I'm gonna go over there and murder these 4 students. I just don't see it. This has been going on for some time, and that's what's scary. Where is he? Where was he? And who else has he injured? And you heard me say injured, because usually there's a lot of injury before there's a death, typically. They were coming for kids. Yes, that's why Summer went missing. Summer was the evidence for Don's 3rd strike. I truly believe it was. And Summer, I just keep thinking, and I keep wondering, why didn't Robin ever ask her? Because I truly believe if Robin had talked to her about good touch and bad touch, had spoken to her, started seeing some of those signs early on of her withdrawing, and then her being excited, her being very clingy to Robin. I wish Robin would have talked to her about good touch, bad touch. I really wish Robin would have kind of pushed her a little more to find out what was going on in the home. Robin had to have known. Robin been over there. Robin had to know they were not living like Christian folks were living. And sometimes we just have to take the initiative and make sure our children, even the ones that don't belong to us, but our children, are safe. I'm behind in the live, but wanted Betty to know there is a video about Eva's nerdy stating the post was not true. Well, I don't understand how the post, let's go over there and check it out. But even if it wasn't true, I mean, there was other people that are looking at this trends, and apparently maybe the Hawaii part might not be true, but trends are trends. Like, you can't fake that. Like, Google has it all. right there. And I learned that, I think it was from actually Crime Stories Obsessed, I think is the one that brought me to the whole trends. I could be wrong. It might have been another creator, but I believe it was Crime Stories Obsessed that went through the trends. And what was it? It was the trends on Maddie and all them prior to that. But let me go over here to Twitter and just see what it has to say. Okay, so we do actually, let me pull this up real quick because I think this is a little more important, and then we'll go over to Eva's Nerdy and check out her stuff. So here is put this up here. Maybe there we go. So this is something that was just filed in Latah on May 23rd. That is posted up there to defendants. And this is state's request for discovery, disclosure, and alibi demand. This has been kind of going across social media like a wildfire about how the state is demanding an alibi from the defendant. And I'm curious as to how he's going to answer that. So it's saying it's to the defendant, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, and counsel Ann Taylor. Please take notice the undersigned, pursuant to Rule 16 of the Idaho Criminal Rules, request discovery and inspection of the following information and evidence and materials: all books, papers, documents, photographs, tangible objects, or copies or portions thereof, which are within the possession, custody, or control of the defendant, and which the defendant intends to introduce into evidence at trial. So now they're starting to request any and all documents from the defendant that they plan on introducing at trial to defend him. All results, reports of physical and mental examinations and of scientific tests or experiments made in connection with this case or copies thereof within the possession or control of the defendant, which the defendant intends to introduce in evidence at trial, or which were prepared by a witness whom the defendant intends to call at the trial when the results or reports related to testimony of any witnesses. Remember that whole thing with Letitia Stalk and Dr. Lewis, and how the state requested several times from Dr. Lewis to produce any reports, and made it a point to let the judge know she's never produced any reports. And the reason why they are making sure that that is on the record is because they have a funny feeling she's going to try to pull in a report that she did not provide to the state prior to her testimony. And guess what she did? She did exactly just that. And it just infuriated the state and the state attorney when she did that. So they're asking for that as well. Anything, any evidence, any reports, any documents that they plan on bringing and proffering at trial, they want a copy of. A list of all names and addresses of all witnesses the defendant intends to call at trial. A written summary or report of any testimony that the defense intends to introduce pursuant to Rules 702, 703, and 705 of the Idaho Rules of Evidence at Trial or Hearing. The summaries provided must describe the witness's opinions, the facts and data for those opinions, and the witness's qualification. Disclosure of expert opinions regarding mental health shall also comply with the requirements of IC Section 18207. This shall be a continuing request pursuant to Idaho Criminal Rule 16J. So basically they're saying if there's any new information, any new reports, any new witnesses, any new witness testimony that's going to be proffered at trial that is found after you comply with this request, you are also required to also provide those to us without us asking. That's what this shall be, a continuing request pursuant to Criminal Rule 16J. They're saying a continuing request because they don't want to have to constantly be requesting this information over and over and over again. So now that we got that, let me go ahead over here to to Eva's live, or Eve's nerdy. I don't know how I got her name wrong or something. I don't know where it is, but I see their Nerdy Addict. I see Nerdy Addict, but where's Eve? I thought it was Eve's Nerdy. Am I making? I see her all the time on here. I don't know why I can't find her. Hold on. Well, maybe I should just look up Nerdy. Maybe it'll show both of them. We got Nerdy Attic and Sir Nerdy Attic. I guess these got two. I don't see Eve's. Does anybody have Eve's? I would like to. I don't see her on here, but I know I'm so pleased the boys have clean beds, proper meals, guardians. Yeah, I know, right? But that's pretty bad. Like the boys are begging the courts not to send them back. And these animals on YouTube are supporting their abusers. Those boys' abusers are being supported by many roach channels here on YouTube, and that is really such a shame. These boys have begged not to go back to them. Begged. That is some abuse that they have had to be subjected to not want to go back with your mom and dad. We know for a fact many of us have been abused by our very parents, and just to think of the love that we have for our very parents that abused us and how that love has been, and then to think that these boys don't even want to go back, that had to have been a horrific lifestyle that they lived. Horrific. And these people, and think about those boys having to watch all these people support the parents that caused them the most pain and the most anguish that they have ever been subjected to. And for them, can you imagine how they must feel about humanity? That they know that their parents did something with their sister. They beg not to even go back to the parents. And they've got these animals and tyrants here on YouTube supporting their abusers and publicly being proud of it. I couldn't even imagine being those boys. I really couldn't. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. Yep, that's the way it was. In my day, like out in Mayaca City, it didn't matter. It didn't matter whose child you were. If you popped off at the mouth, it could be somebody you didn't know. They'd backhand you. And then they would call your mama and tell her, I had to backhand your daughter. You know what your daughter said today in the store? Yeah, and we would get punished again. Yeah, it's true. It's true. There's nothing we can do about it. People have to decide whether they want pansies or not. But I can tell you, the world's not getting any easier. Raising children that are kumbaya, it's not going to make them better people in this environment. You need to have warriors. You need to have people that can have a backbone and stand up for themselves and not be so sensitive. I mean, this world is going to only get better. And trust me, we hear about evolution, right? Only the strong will survive. You need to make strong children. Strong children. Not rude children, not cowards, but strong children. People that are assertive. People that can be good, good leaders. There's not one leader in this world that is nice. There's not one successful boss in this world that doesn't know how to fire an employee. Get it. You got to get it. My son is 25. We watch a documentary on World War II and D-Day. Can you imagine the younger kids having to do it now? That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's only going to get they're going to, these parents they're not doing their children justice. Oh, we want some sweet little child. No. You're not going to be here forever to protect them, mommy and daddy. You need them to stand up on their own 2 feet and be able to deal with whatever life throws at them. And them having a safe space and a coloring book ain't doing it for them. It's making them miserable. They can't handle rejection. And what do? They think it's a video game, so they go and get an arsenal of guns and decide to gun down people because they're so desensitized because of the hours upon hours that you've allowed them to not have a job, stay under your roof, and be a freaking junkie on their TV. That's what many parents have cultivated for their 20 and 30 something year olds. They go to work, they have to pay the bills while they have their 20 something and 30 something sleeping all day and playing video games with their friends. They will not survive in this real world, mommy and daddy. Cut the umbilical cord. Push them out of the nest. Sink or swim, baby. Sink or swim. The lack of fathers being in the home or divorce being so easy, it's a shame. But in all fairness, C12, he didn't have that. I mean, his parents have been together. His parents have, went through went through the punches, stayed together. They love each other. They have 3 kids. In life, you never know what you're going to be handed. You never know what cards you're going to be dealt. And you just do the best you can with them and move in a family unit. And in all fairness, Bryan's family has done that, and they've had a lot of problems that they've had to overcome throughout their life, and they still maintain and stayed with each other and were very committed to each other and their family. So, in the grand scheme of things, that's something that's really good for Bryan, and it makes you feel bad for his family because of all the stuff that they went through. And then this is going to be the ending result. They fought to get their son clean so he wouldn't lose his life. And now he's murdered 4 people and he's most likely going to lose his life. It's a tough pill to swallow. You need to make sure you have gifted memberships are turned on. Oh, okay. So you have to make sure your gifted memberships are turned on. So they are gifted if you have a chance to get one. Did y'all see the law and crime video body cam of 12-year-old who stabbed her 9-year? Oh my gosh, that's heartbreaking. I can't even. All right, guys. Well, we're up to the 2 hours. I know that I was going to go through more of these documents, but honestly, I got to go find them again because as I was going through them, in an effort to make sure I knew that I had did them, I instead of just putting them back down into the taskbar, I ended up deleting them. So now I don't even have because there's literally 40 different documents in there. And I had like the 6 documents that were specifically related to Bryan Kohberger and not all these ancillary people. And I closed those out. So I will have to get those again, but I'll probably go ahead and do a video on this so you guys have them to share just that section of the new documents that we've uncovered related to Bryan Kohberger and his response and his thank you email, right? He said thank you. He sent the chief of police of Pullman, Washington, a thank you email. And so this is documents that mainstream media was not able to get their hands on. We worked very hard and pushed through as much as we could. As just Samantha has reminded us, we want to make sure everybody has a wonderful Memorial weekend. And I hope everyone stays safe and enjoys their time with each of their family. Yeah, Sean, you might want to rewind. We have a few minutes. I don't know. It's probably, I want to say it starts about maybe 20 or 30 minutes into the live is when I start proffering the documents that Pullman Police Department finally did turn over to me. And again, this is about a month in the making. It took me about a month to acquire these documents. Well, maybe a little less than a month to acquire these documents. But I did have to do a lot of, 13, 14, about 2 weeks. Okay. So it took me about 2 weeks to finally get these documents in. But, wow, right? We went from having no documents related to his apprenticeship at the Pullman, Washington Police Department to having, his most likely his interview questions We definitely have his, when he actually met, we now know the date and time he met with the chief via a Zoom meeting or Ring Central meeting. We also have his response and the chief of police's response. Nobody has told us whether he was offered the position. We do know 2 people were offered the position. I can tell you with some of the other emails that I did not proffer to you, it does state a her. So it sounds like one of the people that received one of the 2 positions available was a female. It wasn't Bryan Kohberger. And I have to think that, Bryan Kohberger is socially awkward. And I have to think a a seasoned police chief can tell the difference. I can tell you if I was my police chief, he's not a police chief, my sheriff here would literally have nothing whatsoever to do with me at all if I was a socially awkward person that broke the law. I can tell you that. My sheriff here would have literally zero to do with me if that was me. I have a good working relationship with my sheriff here. And there's a reason for that because I've overcome a lot. In his book, I'm a success. And do I do everything perfectly all the time? Of course not. I'm a human being. I continuously make mistakes and will continuously do that until the day that I die, right? Just like everyone else. So anyways, guys, today I am going to try to get through today. I have to be honest with you. I have been dealing with withdrawals. The withdrawal symptoms are starting to tamper down a little bit. It's starting to be a little more comfortable for me this Saturday with the stop smoking and stop vaping type thing. I'm really, really trying. I refuse to buy another vape. I refuse to buy another battery. And I refuse to buy another nicotine patch. That's why I bought the entire package together. Now, if it goes back to me having to stay on a patch for an extra week or going back to smoking a vape, I will purchase patches. But I do not want to be inhaling any more crap into my lungs. So that's where I am this beautiful Saturday on the heels of Memorial Day weekend. I just want to tell each and every one of you, I love you. If nobody told you that they love you today, I love you. I really do care for you. I want every person, even the ones that don't like me, to have a beautiful day. I want you to have success in your life. I want you to be successful. I want you to be kind. I want you to be bold. I want you to be brave. I want you to be everything that you set your mind to be. That's really what I want for you. I don't want anything less or anything more than that. I want you to be happy. And there's a lot of people here on YouTube that does things that make me believe that they're very unhappy people. So if that is you, maybe try something new, right? Because at the end of the day, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. Why don't you guys try something new, right? Try something new and see if it makes you feel better. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Bullhorn Betty channel to each of my peeps. I love you. God bless you. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And you guys go have an amazing day and be nice and kind to one another.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.